Horizon Zero Dawn was one of the most anticipated games of the year, and when it came out in February, it did the impossible. It met the hype and then some. And while it did everything we expected it to do, from delivering a beautiful, lush game world to putting us right in the middle of intense battles with mechanical dinosaurs, it also ended up doing so much more. Because not only is Horizon one of the most enjoyable and best-looking games of the year, it also tells one of the most ambitious, engrossing, and well-written stories we've seen from a video game in a long time. Right from its very first minute, Horizon pulls us into its beautiful, mysterious world, and it just refuses to let go till the very last second. And it does so in so many ways, bringing countless moving parts together expertly to form one grand narrative. From well-written characters and captivating lore to excellent world building and some fantastic pacing, Horizon Zero Dawn has all the things a game needs to tell an excellent story. Its story is so good you actually can't put it out of your head, even once you're done with the game. Hell, even now, more than 3 months since it came out, we're still gushing over it. So why not gush over it together? Here in this feature, we're going to take a look back at the complete story of Horizon Zero Dawn, from start to finish, so strap in for one of the wildest rides imaginable. This goes without saying, but let's say it anyway, there are spoilers ahead, so if you haven't played and finished the game, stop watching now. In part 1 of our 3-part recap of Horizon, we're going to explain some of the most important lore and background information that serves as a foundation for several important parts of the game's story, while also taking a look at some important events in the first few hours of the game. Horizon Zero Dawn is a post-apocalyptic game, but its world is nothing like traditional post-apocalypse settings you see in most video games. It is, for the lack of a better term, a post-apocalypse. The game is set roughly 1,000 years in the future, and everything that the Earth was long ago is now gone. After an unknown cataclysmic event 1,000 years ago, the world was ravaged, and over time it was completely changed. As it stands now, nature has reclaimed Earth. Everything has gone back to its primal state. There are a lot of moving parts in the story of Horizon Zero Dawn, many of which rely on the lore establishment and world building that the game does throughout its 30+ hours. So before we jump into the actual events that unfold during the game's narrative, let's talk about the background and lore that is the most pivotal to the story. The most striking feature of the world of Horizon Zero Dawn, and the one that will catch your eye before anything else, is obviously the fact that mechanical beasts that look like everything from animals to birds to even dinosaurs roam the lands. There's the Sawtooth, which looks like a tiger. There's the Thunderjaw, which bears resemblance to a T-Rex. There's the Watchers, which look like velociraptors. There's the Grazers and the Striders, which look like deer and horses respectively. There's the Snapmaw, which resembles a crocodile. There's the Flying Glinthawks, and that's just a few of them. What these machines really are and what their actual purpose is, however, is a mystery, one that we will uncover slowly but surely. What's important for now, though, is that for the most part, the inhabitants of the world and these machines have been coexisting peacefully for a long time. About 20 years ago, though, due to some unknown mysterious circumstances, the machines started behaving strangely. Some of them became more aggressive and more hostile towards human beings, and in the 20 years that have followed, they have been becoming even more aggressive. The tribes of the world call this phenomenon the derangement of the machines, but that isn't even the worst part. In the last few years, larger and deadlier machines have started appearing, machines that no one even knew existed previously. The aforementioned Sawtooth and the Thunderjaw would be examples of such machines. All of this obviously has been troubling the human inhabitants of the world, and while we do not want to belittle these obviously monumental issues, the human beings of Horizon's post-apocalyptic Earth do have issues of their own as well. As we said before, everything in the world has gone back to its primal state, and that includes the humans as well. The people they inherited the Earth from are now nothing more than hazy memories, known only as the Old Ones. The people that inhabit the world now have, in the absence of any knowledge and technology, regressed to a tribal culture. Obviously, there are a lot of these tribes across the landscape. Among the few that are featured the most prominently in the game, there's the Nora, a matriarchal tribe that has confined itself to a specific valley where outsiders are rarely allowed, and from where the Nora are rarely allowed to leave. They hunt, they gather, and they adhere to All-Mother. Then there's the Karja, desert dwellers and builders of cities that, by the standards of the now technologically deprived world, are nothing short of marvels. The Karja, after a long period of war with another tribe known as the Oseram, metal workers and fierce warriors, the Karja saw massive upheaval when their current king, Sun King Avad, struck down and killed his own genocidal and famously insane father to bring an end to the bloody conflicts. When the derangement of the machines began years ago, the mad Sun King Jiran started making sacrifices, believing that the blood and lives of people would appease the machines and put an end to the derangement. It didn't. More than any other tribe, it was the Oseram who were constantly raided by Karja, as Jiran looked for more people to capture and sacrifice. After a certain point, the Karja prince, Avad's older brother, openly questioned his father's actions, at which point the Mad King proved that the name given to his is well earned, and proceeded to sacrifice his own heir. It was at this point that Avad finally decided that his father had to die. When Avad ultimately killed his father with the help of the Oseram, the two tribes became steadfast allies, and while most people hailed his actions for finally bringing about peace, a certain sect of the Karja that were loyal to the Jiran broke off and formed their own tribe, now known as the Shadow Karja, and secretly led by a cult group known as Eclipse. Ever since the death of the Mad Sun King and the ascension of Sun King Avad, the Karja and the Shadow Karja have been locked in furious conflicts. For now, however, the tribe we need to focus on is the Nora. Deep in the heart of Nora land, there is a mountain. No one is allowed inside the mountain other than the Nora's priestesses, who are known as the matriarchs. About 20 years before the events of Horizon Zero Dawn really kick into gear though, the matriarchs found an infant girl in the heart of the mountain, on the steps of a giant sealed mechanical door. It was as if she had appeared out of nowhere, born out of nothing. One of the matriarchs, known as Tirsa, believed that this little girl is a blessing and a gift by the All-Mother, but the other matriarchs did not agree with this assertion. They felt she was unnatural, having been born out of nothing. They called her motherless and ultimately decided to hand her over to the care of an outcast man known as Rost. Rost named the girl Aloy, and the two lived on the outskirts of the tribe as outcasts, shunned and ignored by the Nora. The opening of Horizon Zero Dawn depicts the childhood of Aloy as she deals with persecution and discrimination from the tribe on account of her being an outcast, and more importantly, motherless. After one such encounter with bullies, a harried and disturbed Aloy finds herself falling into underground ruins made of metal and stone. She quickly figures out that these are among several underground ruins left behind by the old ones, and here she chances upon an unfamiliar, mysterious device, a focus. The focus, which basically looks like a Bluetooth headset, has special perceptive abilities, allowing her to interact with and gain knowledge about nearly everything she can lay her eyes on, from animals and machines to people and buildings. Soon Aloy becomes resentful of the discrimination that she and Rost have been facing for as long as she can remember. Tired of being called motherless by everyone she sees, she demands that Rost tell her about her mother. Rost obviously doesn't have any answers for her, but he tells her that there is a way for her to get the answers she's looking for: the Proving. The Proving is a Nora tradition, a competition held every year. Whoever participates in and completes the Proving is made a Nora Brave, essentially knights and warriors, including outcasts such as Aloy. The winner of the Proving, however, is granted a boon above all. Basically, they are given the right to ask one thing, anything they want, of the matriarchs. Rost tells Aloy that if she wins the Proving, she can ask the matriarchs who her mother is. Aloy is more than open to the idea, but Rost tells her that the Proving is a grueling competition. Even finishing it is extremely difficult, much less winning it. The thought of not only becoming part of the tribe and no longer being an outcast, but also of finding out who her mother is, however, gives Aloy a steely determination to do whatever is needed. Rost decides to train her for as long as it takes to make sure that she's ready. And it takes a long, long time. The game skips forward by a few years. Aloy is now a young woman, having gone through a long period of intense training with Rost, and the time for the proving is almost here. Aloy heads to the Nora village where the ceremony kicking off the proving is about to take place. But before she does, she and Rost have a heartbreaking conversation. Once Aloy is done with the proving, she will no longer be an outcast, but Rost will still be one. Aloy tells him that she doesn't care about that she will willingly break Nora laws and customs, that she will still be like a daughter to him the way she has always been. But Rost, being a man who has the utmost respect for the laws of his tribe, puts his foot down. He tells Aloy that he will no longer be a part of her life once she becomes a brave, because that is what will be best for her. He tells her that the attachment she feels for him will always hold her back, and so it would be best if he is no longer a part of her life. The two argue and disagree, and on this sour note, Aloy departs for the Nora village. In the middle of the ceremony, as the proving is about to begin, Aloy runs into some interesting people. One of them is Erend, an Oseram warrior who has come to the Nora Valley as part of a Karja envoy sent by Sun King Avad to broker and establish a peace treaty between the tribes. The person who really catches Aloy's attention, though, is Olin. He too is an Oseram, known for exploring ruins of the old ones, and is a friend of Erend's. In the middle of the ceremony, Aloy's focus picks up a signal in the vicinity, and as she investigates, she learns that Olin also has a focus, making it the only focus Aloy has ever seen in her entire life besides her own. When Aloy tries to talk to Olin about it, his behaviour sets off even more alarm bells. He's awkward around her, trying to cautiously avoid her, and there's a sense of recognition in his eyes as he looks at Aloy. Aloy ultimately is unable to get anything out of Olin, and decides to put the matter aside for now and focus instead on the task at hand, the proving. Some of her fellow participants try to sabotage her, but Aloy ultimately ends up winning the proving. Her happiness is short-lived though. On the mountaintop, where those who finish the proving stand, a group of masked killers falls upon them in devastating fashion, killing almost everyone present. Aloy fights them off with some of the survivors, but they just keep coming. And here's the insane part, they're all wearing focuses as well. As the fight wears on, one of the killers, a brute of a man who is apparently their leader, grabs Aloy by her neck, and just as he's about to finish her off, Rost intervenes and engages the man in a fight. For all his talk of cutting himself out of her life, Rost just couldn't stand the thought of not keeping an eye on his surrogate daughter. The intense skirmish ends with a massive explosion, which sends an unconscious Aloy tumbling down the mountainside. Unfortunately, the explosion also kills Rost. When Aloy wakes up, she hardly has time to register the flurry of events that just raced past her. In the heat of the fight on the mountaintop, Aloy had managed to nick a focus off one of the killers. When she wakes up after realizing that she's in the heart of the sacred Nora mountain, she scans the focus she picked up with her own focus, and she makes some startling discoveries. It turns out that the killers were targeting Aloy because she looks almost exactly like another woman. Their DNA scans via the focus show a 99.47% match. This leads to the question of whether this mysterious woman is Aloy's mother. What's interesting though is the fact that the killers scanned and tracked Aloy and the fact that she looks like this woman through Olin's focus. Aloy meets with the matriarchs, who tell Aloy that the mysterious attackers can somehow control machines as well, and that they've launched an assault on Nora territory. Aloy asks Matriarch Teersa about her mother, but the priestess unfortunately doesn't have any answers for her either. She tells her that the matriarchs had found her years ago in front of a large sealed steel door in the sacred mountain itself, the very door they believe to be the representation of the All-Mother. When Aloy sees the door for herself, it ends up scanning her biometrics, once again showing a DNA match with the woman from earlier. On the basis of this DNA match, a voice from the door, which the matriarchs think of as the All-Mother's voice, informs Aloy that she has access to whatever it is that's behind the door. Due to a glitch in its system, however, it is unable to open. Aloy shares all this new information with Teersa and the other matriarchs, and they all come to the conclusion that these circumstances need to be investigated, not just for Aloy's personal stakes, but also because the entire tribe is now in danger and currently under attack. As such, they make Aloy an official Seeker of the Nora tribe. What, you say, is a Seeker? Seekers have the authority to tread past Nora boundaries, something which the tribe's law otherwise prohibits. Having been anointed as a Seeker, Aloy decides that she needs to head for Meridian, the capital city of the Kaja Kingdom, to look for Olin. And that's it for part 1. When we come back for part 2, we will follow Aloy as she travels to Meridian and continues her search for Olin, and ultimately begins unraveling some long-hidden and momentous secrets.
And that wraps it up. If you like what we're doing, please consider subscribing to our channel. We upload new videos daily, so make sure you don't miss them by subscribing. We appreciate your support, and we thank you for checking us out.